Hello everyone, welcome to my new video. I know it's been a long time, but just quick updates before we get into it. I'm still an XJW, I'm still married, we're very happy together with me and Shell. We didn't do too many videos there because we just got so much life stuff going on, work and all that. But we're doing good, better than ever in fact, just living the best life. So I just want to do a video because sometimes a video will come across and I remember like the XJW senses are tingling, right? So I remember that feeling of like, oh shoot, I want to share this. Just like how we used to share our messages with the householders, right? But no, in all seriousness, like this video just brought up some things that I was thinking about. It's called Peter Musney, a law professor explains his faith. So let's watch this together and see what he gets into. Very JW sounding. But it just was reminding me of things.
My name is Peter Musney. I studied law in different universities in Europe, in France, England, Czech Republic.
So you see, this is a well-studied man, right? And the idea is that, well, one of the things that the witnesses do is that they'll have these experiences of people that are in the faith or Christians or whatever, and they almost are validating other witnesses like, oh, you're not alone, oh, you're not being susceptible, you're not being tricked. No, we're educated people, you are in the right, because it's supposed to validate their beliefs. But in reality, you see how manipulative it is. They don't, that message never comes across to other Christian denominations as far as I'm aware. Like, oh, we've had this professor or this president, this and that. Like, that's never a thing. Other Christian denominations, other Christian religions, even cults for that matter, never have to try to prove it to themselves that they're in the right because, oh, look who else is here, right? So this isn't like one of those experiences of somebody who's dealt with something and then they've become a better person that you see sometimes. No, this is like completely different.
And eventually I had my PhD, which I defended in 2004. I have become a doctor of law.
The doctor of law.
I was born in former Czechoslovakia under the communist regime, where religion or religious beliefs were not promoted. And also the thought of God being a creator of the universe was considered as a nonsense.
You see, so his background is he's this well-studied man, a doctor of law, and on top of that, he grew up in a regime where it was basically mandatory or whatever to be atheist, that the belief in God was comical to them. So this kind of you're establishing that this is a study man and his background. So how does he explain his faith? How does he get from that to this?
Concerning evolution, I would say, merely following the mainstream of thinking, that I came to realize that we should really question things that are around us.
Okay, so it sounds like they were forcing him, or the common taught belief was evolution, which, as we know, is a fact. It's a fact. It's just what's disputed is the gravity of how fast things happen, this and that, like specifics. But evolution is indeed a fact. So taking that in mind, he's like, we need to question things. I couldn't. So, okay, wait a minute. You grew up in this regime and they were imposing this on you. Okay. So with that,
all the theories and explanations that are given, but we shouldn't take as granted all that we hear.
Okay. So that's funny. So you heard theories and explanations on it, but you didn't take it for granted. Like, what do you mean you didn't take it for granted? Like, that's the explanations. Like, take it for granted is like if you say evolution's real and you go, okay, and that's it, right? That's what taking it for granted. But he's like, obviously they were like, oh, no, here's the history behind it, these are the origins, this is evidence, right? There's a lot of evidence. And he's like, well, that's not enough, I gotta look more into this, right? I can't take everything you say for granted. Like, what do you mean? It's evidence. It's not like one thing, right?
And especially when somebody says that this thing is obvious or evident, so just don't question, obey, or listen to it.
You see, how many times do you hear Jehovah's Witnesses say, like, oh, it's evident, it's obvious that Jehovah is behind this. It's evident, with no backing. Their backing is one thing, the Bible, or their own literature, which comes from their interpretations. They're very skewed interpretations of scriptures. So that's crazy to me. Most Christians would do that too. The only thing that they can prove is like through feelings or through scripture, but they don't actually have solid evidence of it. So yeah, sure, you can feel good from a message, you can have a positive experience through scripture, but that's really, just one experience. That's not a fact. That's not a reason to change someone's opinion. That's not a reason why. That's not complete evidence of that something is true. So, what the hell is he talking about?
I'm now a specialist in law and in logic, human thinking.
Obviously, he needs a few more lessons. It sounds like.
And there is one basic principle which pervades the whole universe, is the principle of cause and effects.
And this is just a tangent. I'm also wearing my Matrix shirt, completely unrelated to Harrison, by the way, so don't you lump me in with him. But the cause and effect reminds me of the Merovingian. I think maybe it was the third Matrix movie. I forget, but that's what he says.
So
no,
every
it was the second movie.
effect
Matrix
around us must have a cause. You walk in a forest, and there, right in the middle of the forest, you see a bench. The bench is the effect. What is the cause? Is this accidental or deliberate? Somebody must have made it, because the principle is something designed must have a designer.
So this is not inherently true, because not everything that exists has a designer. Some things are organic and some things are naturally made. On top of that, this is a common thing that Christians will do. Like, well, if one thing is like this, then this also applies for everything. And that's not how the world works. There's so many variants. There's so many if, ands, and buts in the universe that you can't take anything for granted. What happened to, you questioning and not taking anything, for granted and taking people for the word? Didn't he just say that? And now he's like, well, obviously someone created it. So Christians like that are stereotypical, like, oh, the world exists because God created it 7,000 years, whatever. It's like, you're ignoring all logic and fact, but at the same time, you have to get there, and you say you have logic and fact, and that you're thinking, and you're not taking people's word for it, but literally you're going back to a book that doesn't date as far as that is written. So, like, what are you talking about?
For me, when I see such a diversity of flowers, of trees, of butterflies, I come to the conclusion the one who put that law of diversity was there to tell us, please enjoy life.
How do you get to that conclusion? Yes, flowers are beautiful, but is that necessarily a fact to show, like something that shows that it was made there for you to witness its beauty? Or is that a result of its beauty that you got to witness it? So again, he talked about one thing, and then he has proven right now that he's doing the complete opposite.
Because life was beautiful, somebody who created it must be somebody having beautiful qualities. Thanks to the study of the Bible, I could put a picture, a face, symbolically speaking, to the one who created life.
So basically, he was like, I love life, so that means someone created it. That's not how the world works. That's not how it is. That's not how. There's no facts in that. There's no evidence. That's just your own experience. What happened to questioning things, like he says? So again, I also find it interesting that he doesn't specifically say Jehovah's Witnesses. I think this might be one of those examples where, maybe he's not a Jehovah's Witness. Maybe he's a Christian, or maybe he's studied in theology. I'm not entirely sure, because look at the back. I can't tell if those are those thick books, the insight volumes in the back, because they're green. He's also a law, like a professor, and he has a doctorate in law or whatever. So I'm not sure if maybe those are law books where he's at. So I'm not entirely convinced that he's a Jehovah's Witness. He might just be a regular Christian explaining his faith. Because most witnesses believe, smart people that are like in those positions, people who are doctors and this and that, a lot of them tend to be atheists, because at a certain point, that's just a JW mentality, right? No nuance, black and white thinking. Very much like this man described, where he's like, I like this, so someone must have made it for me to like it. Like, no, the world doesn't revolve around the human experience. We are just, conscious of it, essentially, Yeah, there are many animals that might also enjoy it, but it doesn't mean that they have a higher purpose. We are just part of this world. In the famous words of Kanye, we live in a society. But that's it. I just wanted to share that with you guys. It's been a while. I hope to do more videos. It just depends on my free time. But thank you guys for watching. Hope you hit like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later.